invocation. The Jogis are primarily ballad singers who go from one village to another singing long narrative songs on their sarangas. These folk singers regale audiences with songs with which the community is already familiar. Here Manful Jogi sings the legend of Ranja at village Garnavati. The Jogis are also a religious sect who perform many other roles in the rural society of Haryana, where they are much respected for curing diseases not only of human beings but also of animals by their magical practices and occult knowledge. Dharamnath recounts the many diseases for the treatment of which men, women and children come to him.
और जो है राक्षसी का झाड़ा लगाते हैं और तो ठीक हो जाता है, ओपरी प्राई का झाड़ा लगाते हैं तो फायदा हो जाता है, काखड़वाई का, अधसेरे का, आंधा शीशी का, ये सभी झाड़े तुरंत झाड़े से ठीक हो जाते हैं और सुबह शाम का जो है इनका समय है.
Chandrabhan Jogi of Bhevani says that there are many diseases like jaundice which are cured by the Jogi's jhada. Jhada is the local word for the magical practice of curing diseases.
आज जैसे पीलिया हो गया, डॉक्टरों के पास अब भी काबू में नहीं आता और हमारे परिवार का इस बच्चे ने भेज दो, 3 जाड़े लगा दो पार. पीलिया जो रोग है सबसे खतरनाक रोग.
A woman comes with a child suffering from jaundice. For the treatment of jaundice, first the Jogi holds a flat bowl in his hand. Then he pours water in it. Then he pours some mustard oil into it. The oil is mixed with water. Then he drops his copper ring into the enchanted mixture. The mixture is then stirred with a tuft of dry grass called dab in the local dialect. During the various magic practices, the Jogis chant the name of Gorakhnath repeatedly, and all prayers and incantations are addressed and dedicated to Gorakhnath. Gorakhnath, who is the patron saint of all the Jogis of the Nath sect in the country, is himself believed to have amazing powers of performing miracles in his time. He is said to have restored the cut-off limbs, hand and feet, of Puran the prince, who by the orders of his stepmother was thrown into a well after having his limbs cut off. Gorakhnath happened to pass by and restored the limbs of Puran, who was then named Chauranginath. The mutt at Asthal Bahor, 4 kilometers of Rohtak, was established by this disciple of Gorakhnath in the 8th century. The Jogi singers claim to possess supernatural powers by the grace of this Guru Gorakhnath, who is much venerated for his miracles. He is worshipped in all Jogi temples, mutts and homes all over Haryana, particularly for his amazing supernatural powers, some of which the Jogis claim have been traditionally bestowed on them and have been passed on to them from one generation to the other.
ये तो जो है दर पीढ़ियों का जो है काम है हमारा, तो जो है परंपरा से बुजुर्गों से ही जो है सीखा हमने, वो परंपरा से चल रहा है।
Every Jogi temple or household in Haryana has an idol of Gorakhnath. At the beginning of the prayers, the horn of a black deer is blown in front of the temple. Chandrabhan says that there are many types of diseases and negative effects caused by nazar, that is, the malevolent eye, which can cause harm.
टोक है, जैसे जाओ टोक चल रही है, बोला टोक ही दिया मैं। टोक है, जिन्हें नजर भी कह दो, टोक एक ही बात है।
Nazar is supposed to be the gaze of a person who is envious, jealous, or covetous. It is explained that a person who has an ominous gaze, that is nazar, can harm men, women, children, crops, and even property, merely by looking at them. The victim of such influences or evil effects comes to the Jogi for jhada, for being delivered from the malevolent effect of the nazar. In village Mendi, Haryana, a grandmother brings her grandson to the visiting Jogi because the child has been unwell because of someone's nazar. Different objects are used for different magical treatments. A pair of tongs, a pinch of ash, and peacock's feathers are normally used for different magical treatments to drive away the negative influences. The peacock's bright colored feathers are considered harbingers of good luck and signify happiness, health, felicity, and prosperity. Traditionally, peacock's feathers are used either in the form of a tuft or a fan.
ओम ओम कामरू देश का मक्खा देवी जाम से समाल जोगी लाओ नजर का राणा टंकनी रांध शंखनी खा जा सवा शेर नजर भसम हो जा सबत साचा पिंड काचा चलो मंत्रो सच हो गई.
The feathers also have religious significance as they are worn on the head by Lord Krishna. A lady brings her daughter-in-law who is held captive by such a spirit. This treatment of releasing a victim from tormenting spirit is called jhada japatta.
ओंकार आदिनाथ, उदयनाथ पार्वती, सत्यनाथ ब्रह्मा, संतोनाथ विष्णु, गुद्दड़िया गणेशनाथ, ज्ञान छाण चौरियानाथ, माया रूपी मचंद्रनाथ, असल चंबेनाथ, घट्टे पिंडे श्री शंभुजति गोपनाथ, अपने बालक जान को साई, प्रथम तलेवार नहीं लाई, वज्र काश बसमन माई, सुंदर सी जटा मुखलाई, अब क्या कहूँ नाथ की शोभा, नरखस लाद संत की शोभा, करमंडल कंठाधारी, ज्ञानवंत बाला ब्रह्मचारी, एक हाथ डिब्बी रही मोर पंग रही एक, आए गोरखनाथ जी रखी वे की टेक, काला भैरू कबले के हाथ को हाड़ा भगवा वेश, कानी कुंडल का नमड़ा, जहाँ समरू जहाँ हाजिर खड़ा, खप्पर में खा मसान में लौटा, ऐसा कौन जो भैरू की पूजा न मेटे.
The yogis say that in most cases, the effect of the treatment is definite, dramatic, and instantaneous. Some yogis in the past were called Nadia Vaids for their extraordinary the quality of diagnosing ailments by merely feeling the pulse of the patient. Munshi Ram is one such old yogi who is called Nadia Vaid. the Jogis are very particular about certain gestures. The members of Munshi Ram's family display a gesture in which they are able to touch the index finger with the little finger, making an inverted V.
नाथ ब्रह्मा संतोष नाथ विष्णु गजस्वरूप गणेश नाथ ज्ञान छाना चौरंगी नाथ अचल चंबे नाथ मारुपी मच्छंद्र नाथ गोटे पिंडे श्री साधो गुरु गोरखनाथ बालजती नवनाथ 84 सिद्धों को नमस्कार दास समाधाना को नमस्कार सतगुरुदेव महाराज।
कहाँ बस है समाज जोगी?
ये नजर का झाड़ा आ गया।
समाज जोगी लावे नजर का झाड़ा, डंकनी रांध संखनी खा, सवा से नजर भस्म हो जा, शब्द साचा पिंड काचा चलो मंत्र।
आपका ये
In the days gone by, the danger of a swarm of locusts attacking the farmers' fields always loomed large. A plague of locusts was always a disaster because suddenly millions of these insects congregated into thick, mobile, ravenous swarms and destroyed standing crops. Munshi Ram, the oldest living Jogi, claims to have warded off the attacks of the locusts by his mantra. In times gone by, he was much in demand for protecting standing crops from the swarm of locusts.
आपका यकीन नहीं और टिड्डी जानवर देखे आपने कभी?
देखे
वह बंद होड़ी है। पूछो कैसे बंद कर देते?
दी बंदा कर दे जोगी
फसल में खा जाती।
आज गुहान में फिर ले, वो मंत्र याद को नहीं किसे गए।
When requested to recite the special magical mantra, he laughed heartily and said, "If you had made this request 50 years ago, I would not have recited this mantra because it is gupt, that is secret. And if it is recited merely for display, it loses its efficacy." However, he recited the long mantra.
इस मध्य का कुआ जहाँ टीडी तेरा जन्म हुआ, 9 ना 84 सिद्ध भेड़ा हुआ, आप सकती बैठी आ, पांचों पंडू लिए बुला, पांचों पंडू कोता माई अलग साहब की फरे दवाई, सर चरपटाया गोरख की धोनी, खोदी लीद हुई थी धोनी, सीरी उंगली दीना छाटा, जिद लीद न खाया आटा, सीरा मस्तक छुट्टी धार, सिन्या उपजी परम्पार, जे टीड ने ले उड़ारी, जा बैठी शरकन की बाड़ी, मैं तेरी छोड़ी एक धार, उठे टीड होए प्रगास, जा छाए मेघ मंडल कैलाश, जा बैठी शरकन की बाड़ी।
सुनो,
तेरी किताब भर जाएगी।
यानी 12 महीने एक खाट पर सुना सकते हैं। एक खाट पर बैठे 12 महीने 3 घंटे रोज सुनी 12 महीने एक खाट।
it is a common belief in Haryana that if the Heer Ranjha story is sung for 7 to 15 days in a village, buffaloes and other animals suffering from the viral foot and mouth disease are cured. This belief is the only thin thread on which hangs the very existence of Jogis. Before the Jogi begins to sing, a person goes on a round of the village and visits each house with a bucket full of burning incense, dhoop and other samagri, which is a disinfectant mixture. Thus, every house in the village is disinfected and sanitized by the smoke of incense and herbal fragrance and kept in voluntary quarantine. Nobody is allowed to enter the village nor go out of it. However, now there is not much strictness about such ancillary practices, though the belief in the efficacy of the healing and the protective power of the Ranjha legend there are few, very few indeed, other occasions when yogis are invited to sing. But for protecting the animal wealth, the Ranja legend is still considered effective. In the past, singing sessions used to begin in the evening. Now, most of the yogis sing in the morning. The yogis hold Ranja in very high esteem because after feeling betrayed by he too became a yogi and had his earlobes pierced.